I'm happiest in the saddle.
A fellow sportsman.
I am an FBI agent!
Great Scott!
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole!
Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria!
Come with me if you want to live.
Hello, and welcome to Retro Ramble. I'm Charlie McGee.
I'm George McGee.
And this time, dear listeners, we are reviewing not one, but two films. Why would we decide to cover two films in the same episode, George? Pray tell.
When we start a new year, we look at what films have anniversaries coming up. And when I was looking through the films of 1994, it pulled up not one, but two films about skydiving. And obviously this is a bit of a...
This is Point Break.
It's no. So yeah, Hollywood obviously has a bit of a trend for similar themed films coming around the same time. It hasn't happened for a while, but obviously there was Volcano, Dante's Peak.
Meteor film.
Yeah, there was Deep Impact and Armageddon we've talked about. There was, even though they were very different films, Independence Day and Mars Attacks. And then I think you even talked about a while ago about the White House movies, White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen. I think that was the last time it really happened, as a big thing.
And is it, because you probably know better than me, but my understanding of that is that there's a script kicking around and the film doesn't get made. And then another similar script gets greenlit and the other studio's like, well, we've got this piece of shit. Why don't we?
Yeah, usually
it's a bit of that. It's a bit of that.
It is a bit of a competition. And yeah, I don't know why it hasn't happened for a while, but yeah, usually there are just, it is, as you say, it starts off with similar scripts floating around and then suddenly it becomes a bit of we've got to get our film out before it's made. So yes, when we were looking at, there's Drop Zone with Wesley Snipes, or there's Terminal Velocity with Charlie Sheen, and it would just be rude if you're going to cover one, you may as well cover the other. So this is,
and if you've already covered Point Break.
And we've already covered Point Break. So yes, this is the 1994 skydiving extravaganza.
So buckle up, strap in, grab your reserve chute. There's going to be some crazy boozy. What else can people expect in this episode? We're going back to the 90s. One of us is going to be wearing a waistcoat.
Oh, there's some amazing fashions. There's a feature I want to introduce called "What in the World is Wesley Wearing?" I mean, obviously, it could be applied to plenty of films in the 90s. You know, we talked about his fashion sense in Demolition Man, but this, as a contemporary 90s piece, he has some amazing outfits, which I'm sure we'll get into.
And I think, as all our listeners would agree, he definitely has a say in the matter. Nobody is forcing him to wear those threads.
Oh, absolutely.
Clearly, when it crosses dimensions from one film to another, you know those are his decisions.
It doesn't really scream U.S. Marshal. Some of these fashion outfits. Yeah, so we have the very extravagant 90s action pick that is Drop Zone. But then I think it's safe to say Terminal Velocity is more of an old-fashioned spy flick, a post-Cold War thriller that happens to have some skydiving in it. Is that safe to say?
It is. It's definitely not putting skydiving on the same pedestal that Drop Zone is.
There's a lot of skydiving in Drop Zone. Some would say maybe too much.
There's a lot of... I've name dropped Point Break a few times. A lot of Drop Zone is wanting you to believe. I mean, don't get me wrong. People who jump out of planes are pretty cool. But there's a lot of getting you to look at them as if they're the sufferers. You know, we need Gary Busey turning up, giving a pep talk to
remind you.
Yeah, but sorry, he's in the other film we're covering, so that isn't possible. But it's a bit heavy-handed in Drop Zone. I think words that are going to come up when we're talking about Drop Zone are tonality that changes. But what's weird is that I said to George when I found out we're doing these two films, I was like, Drop Zone, one of the best video rentals of my youth. Loved that film. And spoiler alert, I think my opinions of these two films have changed over time. So
we'll get into it. So yeah, I think as you said, we're going to be. It's a bit different from the usual Retro Ramble structure because we're covering two films. We're going to be jumping about a bit, but we're hoping to bring that usual retro ramble feel to it. So a bit of an insight into these films. How did they get made? It's a light-hearted look back. It's not a critical appraisal. For those, if you haven't listened before, Charlie and I are brothers, and this podcast all about us going back and revisiting these films of our youth and see, do they still hold up? Have they been remade, spun off, etc.? So, yes, as Charlie says, strap in and enjoy the ride. There might be some swearing, there might be some childish impressions and humour, but it's all part of the show.
We're going to be all over the place. Okay, so I'm ready. George, how are we going to do the trailer thing? Should we play both of them at the same time, as in one audio file? Or
I've got an idea. So I'll play one trailer. I'll give you a bit of a
don't tell them what it is.
I'll give you a summary afterwards, a little bit, because there isn't much production chat on either film. Okay. And then I'll play the next trailer, a little bit of production chat, and then we can just jump into talking about the film, how the films compare.
Okay.
I'm offering you no one else in the world can provide. No one else. $2 million a month for the operations and names of every undercover agent in the world. And I'm willing to prove it by doing it one time for free.
In a world of high-tech secrets, the survival of justice is at stake.
The whole system's going down.
And all that stands between anarchy and order is one man.
You got evidence. Make your case to the FBI. You're gonna have to do better than this time on Creef fella. He's DEA.
On Creef is DEA?
We've tested your free sample and decided we want more.
God bless America.
It's not hijacking! Put your hands down! Go!
It was a setup.
A what?
A setup. What are you saying, Ness?
If you want my help, 15,000.
15,000?
What do you care anyway? It's the government's money.
The other U.S. Marshal has acquired some information.
I'm impressed. Not with you. The other Marshal.
A 747 at 500 knots could rip a jumper clear apart.
A C4 explosive, flashbang residue. This is serious guacamole.
It means I'm in the right place.
You are way out of your league, way out.
Paramount Pictures presents
These people are killers. You leave the cop stuff to me.
the year's most exciting thriller.
I'm not gonna find who I'm looking for down here, right? So I gotta go up there.
Stage one is complete. Stay focused.
Okay, we're into the game.
5 minutes to exit, right on schedule.
Wesley Snipes.
Well, the schedule's gonna change.
Drop Zone.
Wow. So
I really want to see that movie. That trailer makes it look amazing. I want to see that movie.
they don't make trailers like they used to, do they?
In a world. One man.
The year's most exciting movie. So yes. So Drop Zone is an American action thriller directed by John Badham, who is a bit like we were chatting about on our Patreon review of Van Damme movie Sudden Death, a bit like Peter Hyams. He's a bit of a journeyman director. So John Badham, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. It's just Badham. So yeah, John Badham is a director of many genres. So broke through with Saturday Night Fever. Then did helicopter movie Blue Thunder, which I think we haven't seen. I think we might need to add that to Revelations.
Revelation.
I think that's Roy Schneider. War Games, Short Circuit, Stakeout and Another Stakeout.
All good films.
Bird on a Wire.
Another good film.
The Assassin, not Assassins, but the Bridget
Oh no, the
Fonda
one with Bridget. I really enjoyed that with Gabriel Byrne as well.
Also known as Point of No Return, if you're listening in America.
And it's a remake of
Nikita. The Hard Way, the odd buddy movie, James Woods, Michael J. Fox.
Yes, yes.
And Nick of Time with Johnny Depp. So yes, he's got quite a varied.
Those were big films in their day. They were all cinema releases, but hey, it was the time. It's what people did. They put films out of the cinema before they put them on the TV.
I mean, War Games, Short Circuit, and, well, arguably Stakeout are all big films of the 80s. So, fairly big director. And obviously we've got Wesley, we've got everyone's favourite bad guy, apart from when he's in Point Break, Gary Busey, and the lovely Yancey Butler, who was in JCVD the previous year, Hard Target.
That's where she's from. I couldn't put my finger on it.
Yes, she's the lady who's lost her daddy. You found your daddy.
Papa.
And the idea, apparently, unsurprisingly, Charlie, the idea came from two professional skydivers.
I thought you were going to tell me this came from an idea of a skydiver reading a magazine on an airplane.
We're just about to jump out of the plane. Hang on. Two skydivers, Tony Griffin and Guy Manos. And then one of the film's screenwriters, Peter Bershini, would later go on to write High School Musical.
Okay. Wow.
And the only other bit of trivia I really have is insurance policies for most of the cast, including Wesley Snipes, precluded them from skydiving. And I think this is
at all, never
at all. And there is some very shonky blue screen back projection, whatever they're using in the 90s for this. However, one of the actors, Michael Jetta, who's the Weasley tech guy, he actually performed that tandem jump. As you can see, it's a long shot. You can see him jumping out of a plane. And the only other point is in his script, Yancey Butler's character, Jess Crossman, was originally written as a man.
Funny that, because that's what that name kind of suggests.
Yes.
Was it Jeff? Was it actually Jeff?
Probably Jeff. But then once Yancey Butler was cast, obviously there's that bit where Wesley just knocks her out.
He knocks her out. I thought it was brilliant. I was like, leave it in.
And apparently they were thinking about dropping it, and Yancey Butler was like, no, leave it in. It's a good thing for their characters.
Well, technically, she did try to kill him.
She did drop him out of a plane without parachute. So.
And it was the 90s, and men could do that stuff to women without repercussions. And in terms of what men could do to women without repercussions, we'll get back to that when we cover Terminal Velocity and Charlie Sheen.
Yes. So this is, I think, safe to say, peak Wesley. I just had a look at his IMDb list, and in 1992 and 1993, these are just some of the films he made. So White Men Can't Jump, Passenger 57,
classic.
Rising Sun, and Demolition Man are
classic.
Yeah, 4 films preceding this. So he was, everyone was on the hype train for Wesley on this. So
didn't he get discovered by Spike Lee?
Yes, he was obviously in Spike Lee. There was,
but it was after those films he made with him, and then he got noticed, and then it was like boom. And he just worked like crazy, as you say, 5 films in 1 year or something.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, like how many films he churned out in the 90s. Like right up, he's quite big. Probably about Blade. His star started to wane a little bit after the Blade films, and then
something about tax evasion.
Something about tax avoision. Avoision. That's a word.
Forming a private militia.
But enough about that. Shall we tease the listeners with the next movie on our list?
Oh my God! They decided to do 2 films, so we decided to do 2 films. That's our defense. Terminal Velocity.
Okay, queuing it up.
We used to joke about it, didn't we? About some student hitting the dirt and digging in like Wile E. Coyote. I don't think we'll be joking about it anymore.
It's like a great high, right?
Let me guess. First time? What happened, man? How'd she get away from you?
I hooked her in! Like I've done thousands of times!
I'm
here to determine whether manslaughter charges should be brought against you in Chris Morrow's death.
You're kidding.
What are you busting me for?
What took you so long?
Are you certain this is the same woman who was in the plane with you?
I just want you to see that she's come back from the dead.
You have 5 seconds to tell me where the cylinder is. 1.
You gotta be kidding me!
2. 4.
What happened to 3?
Shoot!
That's broken!
The safety zone, you idiot!
You swallowed the worm.
I was trying to swallow all sorts of things.
Careful, I may just have to marry you. What is going on here? Tell me who you are. For real.
Thousands of people will die.
She is one of 2 things. Covert agent or a complete raving lunatic.
What are you willing to stick your neck out for, huh?
Pack the bags. We're going on a guilt trip. Get out of my car!
Relax and enjoy your flight.
How do you stop this thing?
So yes, there you have it. The trailer for Terminal Velocity that leaves no surprise for you. There's everything in there, like right through to the final scenes.
I think the reason I laughed there was when someone was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "What's going on with this trailer?" Like, it's everything. Like, one of the last things you see in this trailer is one of the first scenes in the film, which has no impact on the plot structure. So it's nuts.
So Terminal Velocity. Directed by Darren Sarafian. But the interesting thing for this is written by a guy called David Toohey, and it was based on his original spec script, which was sold for over $500,000. Toohey would go on to be a bit of a go-to scriptwriter. So he had his screenplay. He wrote The Fugitive with Harrison Ford. He would also get writing credits on Waterworld and Ridley Scott's G.I. Jane. But then he would go on to become a director as well. So he wrote and directed Pitch Black with Vin Diesel.
Launch vehicle of Mr. Diesel.
Yeah, launch vehicle for...
Sorry, a launch vehicle that runs on diesel. I missed that, sorry.
Outside of the Fast and Furious movies. But yes, he would go, and him and Vin Diesel would write there was obviously the whole Riddick Chronicles of Riddick.
But wasn't that like his first film? I feel like it was. Am I getting it wrong? Was Fast before?
No, I think you're right. I think Fast and Furious might have been a year after, but he'd done maybe Boiler Room before then.
Yeah, no, I think it was Boiler Room, and then I think
But you're right. That was the film that properly launched him
as an action hero.
Yeah, but yeah, obviously it created a bit of a mini franchise. There was Riddick Chronicles of Riddick. There was a Riddick game, I think.
I haven't seen any of the others, but they're obviously good enough to keep making them, right? Right?
Well, yeah, I keep sort of thinking, oh, maybe I should go back and watch them. I just because I think they get a bit sort of convoluted with their own mythology and stuff like that, and still trying to build a mythology around this sort of one character. But yes, it was very much an in-demand script, and remind me of the Coulda, Woulda, Shoulda, because it originally was going to be picked up by an interesting director and star.
Do you mean this wasn't a Charlie Sheen vehicle?
But yeah, so I mean, how do you want to jump in this? I mean, the one thing I would say,
I think we should start with, I mean, you can say no to this, but let's just get out of there. Like, let's start with how we've done some other episodes, and like, what was it like to go back and watch it this time? Do you not think that's a good way to sort of set the pace?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have...
And start with first memories and then go into what it was like to watch this.
Yeah, so as you were saying, you associate Drop Zone with, video rentals. For me, I have distinct... I don't remember with Drop Zone. I think, that was a video rental. But for some reason, I remember catching Terminal Velocity on Sky Movies late one night.
Such a lucky man.
Yeah, I mean, and it was just great with, I was just like, oh, this is, Charlie Sheen and it's skydiving and stuff. And I remember enjoying it at the time, but then thinking, yeah, it's okay. It's, it's not the sort of film you would bang on to your friends. Oh, you have to see this movie. But it's, I remember it being perfectly enjoyable. I remember Drop Zone being the more ridiculous film, and a lot brighter and a lot more, ridiculous in terms of plot. In terms of, yes, let's do the Point Break thing, but we'll really hone in on they're doing the heist spy by skydiving. Everything has to be in a very tall building.
It's in a cave. That isn't going to work.
It's not going to work. But wouldn't the government have server rooms? No. I haven't watched. I mean, you and I we've covered a few Wesley films so far. So we've
continued to consume Wesley, but just not via Drop Zone.
Yeah. So we've done his bigger films. We've done Demolition Man. We've done Blade so far. I don't think we covered anything from Charlie Sheen's back catalogue. I don't think we have.
Well, do we cover that elephant in the room now? Because George and I think we would put it up that one of our favourite comedies of all time is Hot Shots. And watching this film, I'm guessing that he was either just done Hot Shots or he was just about to do it, because his delivery, his age, everything about him to me screams Hot Shots. So a lot of this film of Terminal Velocity is serious, but when he's telling the jokes, I'm just seeing top of Harley, top of Harley, top of Harley. And I'm like, and I want more, so... did we watch a lot of Charlie Sheen? We loved Hot Shots. We watched it on repeat for years and years and years.
Well, yeah, I'm just trying.
But we weren't target when he first hit when he was big. We came across Charlie Sheen at the autumn of his career when he moved into Hot Shots. We weren't there for. I mean, Wall Street was a big film for me.
Platoon.
Platoon, but those were films that Dad recorded off TV that we watched on video.
But there's one film that we've mulled over reviewing at some point, which is Navy SEALs, because it's got Michael Biehn as another Navy SEAL, and it's like one of those films that you.
Is Charlie Sheen in that?
Yeah, it's Michael Biehn and Charlie Sheen.
That was another big VHS rental for me and my scuba.
I think that's definitely a film that was probably amazing as a kid and is probably terrible now. But yes, you're right.
Drink whenever you see an MP5 machine gun.
And dubious Middle Eastern terrorists, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But yes, Hot Shots was 91, Hot Shots Part 2, 93.
Oh, so he had got Hot Shots under his belt. So this was, I'm getting it now. This was him trying to tell the world that I can still do non-Hot Shots films, I reckon.
Yeah, and that's my problem with one of the few problems I have with revisiting this film. So,
he's not sleazy enough.
Oh, he's plenty sleazy, but it does feel, and I don't know if it is the Hot Shots effect, that I just feel I can't take him seriously.
That's my point about this. Yeah. It's like I can't see anything but Top of Harley in this, and like. There's moments where he's shooting guns or he's doing action stuff. So, oh yeah, he's quite a capable action. He's a believable action hero, but no, I can't get past the Top of Harley thing.
Yeah, it's it's just a bit too much. Actually, I just remember what he was in. But though he's obviously only in about halfway through, which I watched recently. He's in Young Guns as well. He's one of the original crew in Young Guns.
Yeah, the first film. Yeah.
Yeah, first film.
He's the leader. He is the leader. He is the leader of the group. He's the straight.
Go on, go in there, Billy.
He's the straight-laced guy. Oh my God, when are we're gonna have to do those as two films, aren't we?
Well, yes, I did buy them for that purpose. We were looking to do it maybe later in the year, but yeah, I think we've pushed it. Let us know if you do want Charlie and I to do Young Guns 1 and 2. Do write in. Let us know.
If you want us to do them as two separate films, I'm happy to split those over 2 episodes. Cause...
I'm not. So yeah, I really enjoyed going back to it because it's been years. I haven't watched either film in years, and I don't know if it's because neither of them have popped up to my knowledge on streaming. Obviously, we had to track them down for the purposes of this episode, but yeah, I really enjoyed going back to watching Terminal Velocity. I think it's a good, as I said in the intro, good post-Cold War spy thriller that happens to it's a good bit of mystery of what's going on. And yeah, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. What about you?
Well, yeah, I think. Did you watch it? Because obviously, in preparation for this episode, we watched both films. What order did you watch them in? So, did you watch this first?
Yes, I did.
You see, I was the opposite. I was like, no, I'll get around to watching Terminal Velocity. I want to watch Drop Zone again. So I watched Drop Zone. It's like, okay. I remember what I remember the 90s is different to how I remember it. And so when it got around to watching Terminal Velocity, I was pleasantly surprised. Just as George says, I was like, this is actually a decent thriller. It ticks all the boxes. It's got amazing physical stunts in it. And unlike Drop Zone, skydiving is part of the plot, but not a set piece structure that is, I mean, it gets to the point where you're just bored of skydiving by the end of Drop Zone. It's like shoehorned into every conversation, every scene. Everything's about the jump, and it's like, it's not surfing. You're not Point Break. That's what I'm screaming at the TV, whereas I feel like it's nicely dovetailed into Terminal Velocity without being annoying. And it's got, we mentioned him recently in terms of remembering Carl Weathers. Shooter's Tour. We've got Shooter McGavin.
Shooter hamming it up to the max. Christopher McDonald with a lovely peroxide blonde. And I think this is...
clearly a homage to View to a Kill.
I think, no, but this is year before Happy Gilmore. I think Happy Gilmore was 95.
Yeah.
So I mean, Christopher McDonald does really do the hateable bad guy. But in this, as dodgy Russian henchman, he's really hamming it up, isn't he? It's so much so that James Gandolfini is restrained in comparison.
A very young James Gandolfini who's sinister, who just showed that, yes, I know he's done The Sopranos.
I wanted to see more of James Gandolfini.
I was going to say, not only in this film, but generally. I don't think that guy made enough films. He's got such screen presence, such a good actor, so natural.
I mean, obviously, we talked about him, would have been the year before, doing Menacing in True Romance. You know that?
What I would like to say about him, and I mean no disrespect, I think he's one of the most brilliant two-dimensional actors that there is. There's not a lot of range with him.
Yeah.
I don't think.
You get intense.
But he's absolutely fucking amazing. I would watch him in anything, and that is what every actor wants to hear. So,
yeah. But the one thing I would say, those Russians really do enjoy speaking English, don't they?
And each
other.
They shout badly anyway. We're picking hairs. It's for an American audience, but I felt that plot was going everywhere. It was very like, you keep thinking, oh, they're going to steal this plane. No, they're not. They're just going to get off the plane, get off it again. Oh, they found the gold. They're going to steal the gold. No, they're just going to leave it where it is. Oh, they're going to do this. It was like, it kind of kept on wrong footing you. Is he going to screw with it? No, she's not going to screw it. It's like, is she trying to hit on him? No, it's like, I felt like it was quite ahead of its time in the fact that he was scaredy cat. She was like strong, sleeper agent, double agent, whatever. That was kind of, this is before Goldeneye, which was, the whole, you could still see what was going on, the whole Russian thing.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Yeah, obviously that popular thing of, well, the Cold War's over. Can we still keep telling Cold War stories?
Of course we can.
It's been long enough. It's been a few years.
What's happened to all those nukes from the Cold War? We can make a film about those.
What's happened to the KGB? And that is...
and then you remembered where that amazing line that we use all the time came from. It must have come from here.
It is. That is the two things I remember from this film is that amazing line, KGB? Come on, you mean KG used to be? And for some reason, I remember the dog with 3 legs.
Why would you forget?
But no, stranger, this film got slated when it came out, and I think it's got it's sub 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I just don't get the hate. I mean, it's by no means perfect, but it's a perfectly enjoyable 90s thriller.
I think I am the highly suggestible type, and I think I got swept up in all of that because I definitely saw this film. I do remember seeing this film, and let's just put this in perspective. I was like, the problem with that terminal velocity, it's got that ridiculous scene where there's a window washer who jumps out of his window washer for no reason, just to show he can do his pressure. Like, oh, no, that's Drop Zone. So that is basically where we've come to, is that I think all the press told me to remember this as being a bad film. I've gone back and watched it. It's like, this is a perfectly passable, pass me the remote, let's see what's on Sky Movies, sit down and watch it. You'd watch this. Whereas Drop Zone is sitting down with your buddies, you're 14, 15, or maybe 16 years old, you've had 2 beers, you're off your tits, and you'd think it's the best film you've seen ever.
I mean, it's bizarre. The one thing I'm surprised at when I was looking at the stats side by side, that I was putting in my notes that Terminal Velocity feels quite a sort of modest budget-wise film, but it actually cost more than Drop Zone. So it was
they've got real stunts though.
Yeah, Terminal Velocity was budget 50 million and Drop Zone was 45 million. But
is that a big difference back then? Was that a big difference?
No, I wouldn't say it's a big difference, but I would say Drop Zone feels the glossier film, and maybe it's just the way it's been shot. And, there's a lot more daytime sequences, whereas obviously the nature of the spy sort of chase nature of Terminal Velocity, it's more set during the daytime. Nighttime.
Just checking if 35% of that budget went on Gary Busey's 3D rendering of the inside.
Oh, that 3D rendering software is amazing. That's what we need to get into about Drop Zone. I forgot about hacking. Hacking's hot. That's cool right now.
We're not even connected to the internet and they can hack us? Yeah, because you clicked on his photo.
but we have to get the tech guy into the building. He can't hack it remotely. He has to be parachuted in.
Everything, they hadn't, conceptually, that didn't exist. Yeah, it's brilliant. Got a mustache. Yeah.
So, yes, I think
so much skydiving in that film. They are practicing, they're practicing the heist, they're doing the heist has skydiving at the beginning. The beginning's a pretty damn cool scene.
I was going to say the plane hijack. I mean, obviously, we're definitely in pre 9/11 days, because it's like smuggling weapons and explosives very easily onto a 747. And it's quite traumatic, that whole thing, with people getting sucked out.
Not enough, after watching Sudden Death, not enough collateral damage for me. My levels are really high after watching Sudden Death. I need lots of innocent people to suffer before I'm on board.
But yeah, I thought the that plane hijack was, pretty impressive special effects. And yes, there's a lot of skydiving stunt scenes. But yeah, as you say, it feels very, you've seen it all before, done better in Point Break.
Exactly.
In terms of the way it's been shot, the soundtrack. Yes, you certainly get a lot of skydiving for your money, but is it, you almost like get a bit sort of like, okay, yeah, we're skydiving again.
No, but there's a few cuts in Point Break where you can clearly see from the camera work that there's a guy, he's like half a kilometer away and he traverses across the screen and catches someone.
Yeah.
In this, everything's like done much closer.
It's all choreographed because it has to be.
And there is the choreographed, which
stunt show, whatever
stunt show thing that's going on over Washington, which is kind of impressive for the third time that you see it. You see them rehearsing it, you see them doing it. But it's not up there with Point Break for me. It's not. It's too much of a plot device and drops in. I think that's what lets it down. They went nuts. Like, if you think about shooting, how many more jumps did they do? They must have had to do so many jumps, because the whole film, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 has at least 10 minutes of jumping in it.
Yeah. Well, no, the one thing I would say is that it was quite nice to see Wesley poking fun at himself when he's in, the air machine thing, the practice fan thing, which I think we talked about, because they used that in Point Break to get the shots. They had like basically cameras, they had the, Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze in those to make it look like they were free falling.
Yeah, I thought when you said making fun of himself, I thought when he thought he was Bob Marley on the scooter.
Oh my goodness! That's because he sold everything to pay for the plane. He sold his car and his lovely three-piece baggy suits.
But his boss is totally okay with him working under the radar. And it's like,
you mean the general from Under Siege?
No, but I was saying the reason why he's okay with Wesley doing that is like, look, I've got Casey Ryback on a ship somewhere.
Ryback? Casey Ryback. It's also got, so I had a few of I've just put those guys. You got the general from Under Siege. You've also got Travis from Cliffhanger, who's hardly in it at all. Lots of ponytails, lots of bad guys with ponytails, lots of white suits, lots of white suits in this.
What's more offensive to you, though, a white suit or a ponytail?
It's the double combo. There's the crooked DEA agent that has the bald ponytail.
Bald ponytail.
And
I could be bald. I could have a ponytail. I've decided to go with both.
I'm gonna flaunt the hair that I have left with massive cellular mobular phone on the belt.
Yeah.
And sadly, I think, we were talking about this in our sudden death episode that we just did on Patreon. A similar thing in this, that there's, it almost feels like Wesley, like Van Damme is in sudden death. Wesley's a little bit restrained in this. There's not enough of him kicking ass.
There's not, even he does kick ass.
He does.
But even in that, there's no roundhouses. There's no exuberant.
There's that fight in a shed, the shed toilets.
The shed toilets, which is like, I think his finishing move is to rip down the overhead light, which I've never tried doing.
Though I was giggling at the final face-off between him and Boosie, where they're firing over a desk at each other, and I was just reminded of Naked Gun.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Firing over a bin at each other.
And then they did that. But I think when I was texting you when I was watching this, it was like classic 90s trope. They both come up at the same time. They both point their guns at each other.
Oh, Mexican standoff.
And they're both out of bullets. And and then Boosie just jumps on them. So no, I think.
But can we talk about Boosie's death?
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about the technical side of this.
The physics of it.
Okay, no, but let's talk about the technical side of it. It's because, okay, so during this film, Wesley's character, Jessups, what's he called? Triple Sword?
It's an anagram of Snipes. What's it called? What's he called again? I've forgotten.
Okay. He's
Nissan?
Nessups.
Nissup.
Nissup or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's done a few jumps. His character has. You get it. But, like, he jumps out of a window, we're guessing, let's say for argument's sake, 10 stories.
The 20th floor, because they talk about it in the...
Okay, so he's 20 floors up, so he's got enough to do a base jump, arguably. But is he that good that he jumps through broken glass with Gary Busey going... But it's like instantaneous. Releases his chute.
Yeah.
Let's go, Busey. Perfectly timing. I mean, no, but the rest of Busey's death, it's just coincidence.
No, but Busey falls straight down, but then he somehow...
No, but the truck's moving. The truck's moving.
But he's falling straight down, but he manages to go through the truck windscreen horizontally. So he's sort of like, almost like he swoops down.
Maybe he's got he's a skydiver. What can I say? Like he knew he was going to die. He's like, I'm not going head first. I'm going to enjoy this last thrill. And so he starts like, well, I'm going to kill myself.
Right. Okay.
Do you think it's that?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay. Swiftly moving on. I do like the set pieces in Drop Zone, though. I like the heist. I thought the heists were good. I thought...
The first time you watched it, yes, but when they're doing it a second time, it's like, okay, we get in through the roof, we get the geek in to get the stuff.
There was no real stakes, was there? There was no innocence. Going back to sudden death, not enough collateral damage.
But I did love the point where I think they say, if we kill a cop, other cops will start sniffing around. It's like, hang on, haven't you just sold the IDs for DEA agents to get them killed? It's like,
and didn't you kill a US Marshal in the opening scene?
You mean Theo Huxtable?
You're sure I don't know where this comes from. I did not recognize him.
Charlie, I had to look it up. It is Theo Huxtable. That was the other thing I was going to bring up. Does it feel like a stretch that it's Wesley's brother? They're both US Marshals and they're assigned as partners together? I mean, that's... If that's not, preferential hiring, I don't know what is.
nepotism at its best. I held back from testing you because it did sound quite racist to say, so the brothers are brothers? Damn brothers be brothers, man. And it was like, so we're going to make the two black guys brothers. It's like, okay.
And they're also partners, brothers.
Yeah, it was convenient. It was, I think, lazy script writing, because it could have been more that he had to. I don't think he needed that scene for them both to be. I guess, but it would have been more interesting and more believable had Wesley been on another case and they both met in the airport. It was like, I've got to transfer this. Do you mind me tagging along and then I get a cheap ticket with you? The fact that they were both on the same case and they were brothers and they were talking about what they're going to do the weekend. I don't know. Maybe we just don't understand US law enforcement.
Maybe.
Maybe it's much more tightly knit than we realise.
I mean, you would have thought Wesley would have learned his lesson from Passenger 57.
Or the fact, maybe he was just, laying tracks for you. He would go on to feature in the film US Marshals. Tying it back to what you said about The Fugitive. So, is there a coulda, woulda, shoulda?
Yes, so I've got some good coulda, woulda, shouldas. So,
not just bad ones. Okay.
Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
They're not very extensive, but jumping back to Ryback, Casey Ryback, none other than Steven Seagal was originally set to play the role of U.S. Marshal Peter Nisip, but left the project to return in Under Siege 2, Dark Territory.
How can you say no to Dark Territory?
He was reportedly offered $15 million for the role. But obviously, when was an executive decision was that 95, 90? That was 96, I want to say.
I feel that was a bit later, yeah. Not 97, but yeah, 96. That sounds about right.
So yes, that was coulda, woulda, shoulda there. I'm sure that I read somewhere there was someone else up for the role that Boosie was up for, but I can't remember who it was. However, over in Terminal Velocity world, so originally, before Charlie Sheen was on board, it was Kevin Reynolds, he of Waterworld and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves director. Mm-hmm. He was looking at it with an actor called Tom Cruise originally slated to star, but they were both busy on other projects. I imagine Cruise was probably doing, I think, maybe Interview with a Vampire, and then Mission Impossible was 95. So yeah, maybe he was busy with that. But yes, I get the feeling when I see Cruise's name attached, I think the character has been tailored to a bit more to Sheen's. Like I've put, he's charming in a dickhead sort of way. It feels like the script's been tailored to Sheen's personality a bit.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it'll be a bit more of a straight down the line thriller, maybe with the odd whip from the Cruiser if he'd gone ahead and done it. But I think it would have been likely would have been a bigger film.
I think. Sorry, who's playing the? I'm not going up against Chris. What's he called? McDonald.
Chris McDonald.
I'm not going up against him, is what Tom Cruise said. You're gonna have to get me a bigger bad guy. Get me that guy from the James Bond film, Necros. Get me him. I say I really enjoyed Terminal Velocity. I think that was a surprise for me. Watching Drop Zone, I was like, God, this seems so dated for mainly the wrong reasons. Like
it's the worst parts of the 90s.
I was going to say it's the worst outings for a lot of those actors. Even the girl, she's in Hard Target, which is a better film than Drop Zone. Gary Busey, you don't have to look far. Many better films. Wesley, you don't have to look far. Even some of the bit actors in this film, you're like, even the guy with balding head who becomes part of the group, not Swoop, the other guy.
Oh yeah,
he's bounced up in other better films. So it was kind of like. Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like this is a film that got made, but there were other films very close to the making this film with all of these actors in, which were way better than this. So
in terms of the box office, it was close, but Drop Zone made 62 million worldwide, and Terminal Velocity made 47 million worldwide. And that was compared to So it didn't even break even.
Which is probably why it's considered a flop.
Yeah. Well, no, I say it just had mostly negative reviews.
Are those figures adjusted for rentals and DVD purchases?
No, that's just theatrical.
Box office, yeah. Because that obviously, pretty much as Christopher Nolan and the like will tell you, doesn't kind of exist anymore.
Yeah.
They can't look forward to those sort of purchases that they have to now
give money
to streaming sites and get it back from them. Whereas it used to be, you and I would go and see a film, we'd pay at the cinema, we'd come home, we'd buy so they get a double whammy, you know?
Well, no, as we were saying last month about Labyrinth, you know, that whilst that was like a bit of a flop at the cinema, it became a huge cult hit on video. And obviously a lot of Van Damme's career was made in video rentals before he made it in the big time. So yeah, it was, you know, a thriving market. And yeah, we've talked about in the past that, yeah, you can't rely on that. Oh yeah, well, it'll make such and such a box office, but DVDs where the money's at, and or Blu-ray, it's now a very small market. It's a shame.
Well, streaming will come and go. It will. That's the weird thing, is like DVDs, Blu-rays have come and gone, but I'm looking at mine now. You know, I've still got them. Yeah. So what are people going to do when Netflix, or I don't know what will happen with them, but I just think it'll change. Somehow it'll change. But these DVDs I've got here in my collection, that's the thing that doesn't put me off physical media. Nothing's going to change the fact that I've got them here, you know? So anyway, so how do we round up? We've watched two of the best 90s skydiving films that there exist. So let me rephrase that. We've watched the two best skydiving films from 1994.
Yeah, as I say, when you look at like you put in top skydiving films, we've talked about Point Break. We've obviously, you know, we've talked about Tom Cruise. You know, we've got to talk about, you know, which is Mission Impossible Fallout.
Yeah.
The Halo. GoldenEye with it's Tomorrow Never Dies with the Halo jump.
But GoldenEye with the bungee stuff, those sort of stunts.
Yeah, and what else was I thinking? Moonraker, that had some good skydiving in it, stunts. But
maybe a green screen will do.
It's just with Roger. Roger did all his own stunts, Charlie. You know that. So yes, no, I think these films obviously aren't as big as some of the films that you and I usually cover. They were
big video VHS releases in there.
Well, they were fairly, I mean,
probably not big in the cinema.
Well, no. Terminal Velocity debuted at number 2 in the US box office behind Time Cup.
Oh wow, Tin Cup. Wow.
Tin Cup. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we went back because, you know, that's the point of this podcast. You know, you and I going back and saying, well, how do they hold up? And, you know, sometimes we do get that shift of, they're actually better than I remember.
This was a surprise. I was not expecting me to enjoy Terminal Velocity as much as I did. And I was a bit sad by... so there is a point to this podcast?
Yeah, apparently so. No, but I did the exact opposite. I was like, I'll watch Terminal Velocity first because I've got a feeling that's not going to be as good as Drop Zone, not as good as I remember. Okay. And then I was like, this is actually pretty damn good.
Yeah. It's a totally passable spy flick. That's the thing about it. So for that, you're like, okay, yeah, it's almost passable as a sensible action flick, whereas Drop Zone is 3 beers in minimum.
Minimum. And
three beers and at least one waistcoat.
And yeah, and that's purely just to lap up Wesley Snipes' fashion choices. I'm glad we've done it. Let us know what you think. What do you prefer? What wins the skydiving trophy? Is it Drop Zone? Is it Terminal Velocity? Anything else for you, Charlie?
I'm glad we've done it. I'm glad we did it as one episode.
Thank God.
What's coming? What can we tell our listeners what we've got coming up?
Well, we've got another anniversary next month. We are doing a biggie. We're going back to 1984, and we are doing The Terminator.
Dun 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 dun. Wow.
And people will be like, how have you not done Terminator already? Charlie and I got greedy.
We were waiting. We were waiting for the right time.
Well, no, people will say, well, why didn't you do it chronologically? We just got greedy and decided to jump in with T2 early on. But yes, looking forward to covering the Terminator because it's a classic. And we love a bit of Arnie.
Yes. And I mean, he
and a bit of James Cameron as well.
Exactly, and a bit of LA, I'm looking forward to the production chat. Really feel like in terms of what he was able to do on a budget, so that's going to be a big episode for us. Okay, well, thank you for listening to this. As George has already said, go back and watch at least one of these two films, and then if you're still not satisfied, watch both of these films. They are both worthy of a watch. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say which one is more worthy, but I think you know what I feel. So, great. Okay, well, get us on all the socials. You can always access everything streamed directly through the webpage at retroramble.blog.
We're also on YouTube as well.
You can get the episodes on there as well.
We also have, we have mentioned it a few times, but if you do enjoy what you hear and you would like to support Retro Ramble, but whilst also getting extra Retro Ramble in your ears, we do have a Patreon channel where we do a whole host of features. So yeah, we will look at films that we didn't get to see first time round. So we just covered Jean-Claude Van Damme's sudden death. But we also do some specials. We've done some James Bond specials. We've done some soundtrack specials. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there. So yeah, if you need more Retro Ramble in your lives, in your ears, please check out our Patreon page.
Yeah, especially if you'd like to get our take on anything recent, because that's where we cover all of the recent cinema releases. Okay, brilliant. Well, for this episode, I have been going at terminal velocity most of the time as Charlie McGee, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
I have been wearing some outrageous clothes. I'm on my moped with an oversized helmet, but I have been George McGee, and thank you for listening.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.